Hey everybody, welcome back to Review the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike, and today we're reviewing The Hunger Games Part 2. Which one's this part?
The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
Oh, this is the Mockingjay Part 2. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2.
Yeah.
And hell yeah, lots been building up to this. We got Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Battle Royale, 3 Hunger Games movies, and now here we are at the big conclusion.
I see no connection at all between any of those films, Michael. And I think we should just keep moving forward. So yes, we've come to the final installment in the Hunger Games movie franchise, of course based on the book series. And in this final installment, the rebels are in full force. Katniss is leading them on, and they take on the capital city to try to finally take down President Snow. And that's basic.
Turn your weapons to the capital! Turn your weapons to Snow!
And Michael, that's why we leave it up to Jennifer Lawrence to say those things.
Well, I'm a pretty big fan of the franchise up to this point. I was worried when they first started this series it was going to be just another Twilight film.
Yeah.
And the second that got blown out of the water was very early on in the first Hunger Games movie during the games. This guy just takes a sword and just starts hacking down on a little child to death. I was like, this is no fucking Twilight.
No, because I was told the same thing. When I first heard about it, I was like, what are the Hunger Games? Somebody was like, it's kind of like Twilight.
But
I was like, no!
Way cooler.
No! Yeah, I was like, we just got over this shit. We're just getting over this. No.
Way cooler. And it was also, Jennifer Lawrence's explosion onto the, screens. I mean, it's what made her a star.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she had that one Oscar run, but that's what got her into Hunger Games, and
I mean, that's what brought her to mainstream. I mean, she did the X-Men movie, but I think this is really what solidified her. So, and she's a tour de force now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she is definitely the big reason this film series has done so well. I mean, all the actors in the series have done fantastic jobs. They've all done really well. But Jennifer Lawrence,
she's amazing.
Yeah, she's currently one of my favorite actors in Hollywood right now. I mean, I just she's got another movie coming out this Christmas called Joy. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, she looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
and in this series, man, she's carried it. She's been tough, vulnerable, I don't know, just transcendent. I just feel like she's just been amazing. I can't believe how young she is as an actress. I mean, she's really young, and she carries so much weight in her performances, and she doesn't disappoint as far as performance goes. I think she's incredible in this film. And, in general, I think the acting in this film is very good. I don't really have complaints about the acting at all.
Josh Hutcherson.
He brings his A game.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
He was great. Because, I mean, we see towards the end of the last one that, his mind is all fractured and messed up and warped because of all the torturing and poisoning he's been given. In this film, we see him trying to, work that out and try to get back to the Peter we know, but it's definitely
it's such a good arc too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on board with that. I was with Jennifer Lawrence, where it's just so painful to see him become this, and he just brought his A game. I mean, I never realized how good of an actor he was until the end of the first part of Mockingjay.
Yeah.
The way that he strangled her was it was so intense, and then in this movie, that intensity carries forward. He's so good. His arc is good. I just was so impressed.
Yeah, because he was one of those actors, I'd seen him growing up. He was like a child actor you see in films here and, here and there. And, he never did a bad job. But this one really shows that this guy's got some stuff to show us, the audience. And I hope he continues to get more big roles like these, because I think he deserves them.
Yeah, and, Liam Hemsworth is also good. He's taking a darker path. His character's becoming a little bit edgier, a little bit more cold-blooded. Which is really scaring Katniss in some moments. There's still that love triangle going on. Sometimes love triangles get a little old in these stories because it seems to be in every one of these things. But I think this one has a spin on it that makes it a little bit better than most. But he's good. We unfortunately had the final performance of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he sadly did not get to complete a lot of this film. You can tell that they cut around his performance a lot. At the very end, he CGI'd a bit.
Yeah.
And there's
CGI though.
And there's a moment that was clearly supposed to be a scene between him and Katniss that Woody Harrelson fills in for, where he delivers a message from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, which was kind of unfortunate. But just the fact that they didn't scrap him at all and they decided to stick with their guns, we're going to use him, we're going to honor his final performance. I'm glad they at least did that. But, he's in it very little, but he's good, of course. He could say the alphabet and still get an Oscar nomination, probably.
Yeah.
Julianne Moore is good. She plays Coin, right? And she takes some dark turns. And, fans of the books will know what we're talking about. We'll try to save spoilers. She poses herself to be the savior of the Resistance, the new leader and everything. And there's definitely some secrets she's got. And the reveals are interesting. Donald Sutherland, once again, back as Snow. Hateful bastard, but
yeah, I think he
plays as a gentleman, though. He's like a gentleman, but he's also a psychopath.
I know, he's like a great Bond villain or something in this, and you can tell he's having a blast doing this role because he's so he's just always kind of smiling, that weird confidence, and I really like the way he's played the character throughout the film. He's kind of, and when I say a Bond villain, I think he probably would have made a good one if he had a character like this. When I saw him in these movies, it's kind of what I wanted to see out of Christoph Waltz in Spectre. Not that Christoph Waltz couldn't pull this off. We all know he can. I just meant as far as character-wise. I think, it was a little better.
And all the cast is good. We have a lot of returning people. Sam Claflin playing Finnick, who has been a joy to watch. I mean, he's managed to find a balance between being funny but also being serious, and he brought a lot to the role, and you're really rooting for him. Everyone's great. Unfortunately, not everyone gets totally utilized. There's a lot of people, like Jenna Malone is not really in this story as much. I would have liked to have seen more of her, but that's just the way I think the books probably were. I also would have really liked to have seen some resolution of Stanley Tucci's story. You just want to see that stupid grin wiped off his face with a pistol whipping or an arrest or something. Unfortunately, I'm sure that everyone knows this, there will be blood. There will be deaths.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta say that I felt that some of the deaths was glossed over. I wasn't totally satisfied with the way they took out some people. Some of them I was even confused by. I was like, wait, are they dead? Are they dead? Oh, okay. I felt they could have taken a little bit more time to build the drama around some of the deaths.
Yeah, I agree with Mike on this one, totally. There was a couple of times where it's it was confusing about whether someone was axed off, and in that moment, especially these films, you've got to use the emotion of that moment when someone gets killed. The audience wants an instant reaction from the characters as to the loss of these people, and we really didn't get that. I think it was a missed opportunity. Now, I don't know if that's how it went down in the books, but and I understand that you got to be true to the books because you don't want to piss off the book fans. Yeah, so with all these other films, we got a bunch of special effects. We got practical effects from, wounds and stuff like that to, CGI with, the military planes of the future and the big view of the Capitol. And I've got to say the quality of the effects have carried on through all of them, and I really don't have any complaints that I can think of. I
always like when practical effects are used. It looks like they used them a bit in this. Probably the heaviest visual effects sequence, there's two. There's one where they're being chased by this black ooze, which they don't really completely explain what the black ooze is. You see one guy fall into it, and he gets pulled up in ropes or something. I got confused about exactly what the black ooze was.
I think it was just straight up oil. I think it was just boiling oil. And as far as that rope thing, I think that's just part of a trap that he stepped on.
I got confused a little bit by that.
Yeah, no, I think that was just I think that was a trap.
And then the other heavy effect sequence was the Furo Ghoul tunnel sequence. The Furo Ghouls were clearly CGI, but in the film they're chased by what I call Furo Ghouls, but in the movie they call...
Mutts.
Mutts.
Yeah, Capital Mutts.
Which they keep insulting Josh Hutcherson's character, PETA, by calling him a mutt.
Yeah, they do look pretty nasty. I wouldn't want to run into them.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Though there is a question about exactly how these things came into being. I'm going to assume genetic... engineering of some sort. But that sequence was really scary. It kept me on the edge of my seat. That was probably the signature, I would say, of the movie. They obviously had people in green suits or with dots over them interacting with the actors because they're physically fighting with these things.
Yeah, and the CGI gloss that they put over them was actually really good. There was a few times where it really looked like they were grabbing onto these things' skin and trying to pull them off each other.
That was good.
So I thought they really put some extra effort into that thing. I was definitely appreciated.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are other sequences, most notably near the end of the film, that I think were a little bit less than impressive. I will compare the ending to this film as a boxing film. You have two competitors, the whole film's building up, both of them are getting ready for this match between each other, and within the first second of the first round, our hero is knocked unconscious, and things happen off screen. they come to, and their opponent slipped on a banana peel right after they're knocked unconscious. That's what it feels like to me. It's pretty unsatisfying.
Yeah,
very anticlimactic.
Yeah, anticlimactic definitely. I think your narrative was pretty good. Yeah, like you want these two people to go down and fight, and it didn't turn out that way.
It fizzles out a bit.
Fizzles out a little bit.
I mean, I understand that the whole story was trying to work on a theme about human nature, that history tends to repeat itself, and humanity often doesn't learn from past mistakes. If you cut off one head, then two more shall take its place. But good science fiction always finds a way to address the human condition and often reflects something about us and our world, a social commentary. The film does that, but it just wasn't set up correctly, which results in disappointment and some confusion. And there is a major death that happens that is confusing. It wasn't handled very well, and it wasn't set up right.
Yeah. I will say this, the death that happened I was not expecting. I was definitely expecting somebody...
Well, of course you weren't expecting, because they didn't do anything to establish that the character was even there.
I was totally expecting one of the core characters to go down. The one that did go down, that I was not expecting.
It's a character that in the books was established to be there, but in the film adaptation, not at all established. There's no indication this character is even in the capital, and it's very, very confusing when they appear. It was not handled very well. And another issue with this ending is that unfortunately it defeats the entire purpose of what Katniss and her little crew have been doing through this entire film. They're going after Snow without permission, and they're going to assassinate him. And there's a lot of consequences to this decision. There's a lot of blood, and there's a lot of sacrifice. And really, when you get to the end, everything that they were doing during this section of the movie, the same events would have happened if Katniss never left the base, most likely. So it deflates the movie a lot. And I think the movie was very strong up until the last half hour, but that last half hour, unfortunately, it fizzles a little bit.
Yeah, so the last half hour of the movie, I'm agreeing with Mike on. I mean, by far, is not the worst I've seen a movie end on in like its last little bit.
It wasn't bad. It was just kind of disappointing.
I think it's just trying to do something different, something unique. You know, something different than your average three-act structured story. So I'll give it credit there, but it just didn't work out like whereas other films have succeeded. You know, which is always a risk when you do a book adaptation of a film. I mean, so far the adaptations of the other books have gone very, very well, but, you know, I guess they kind of hit a bit of a kink here.
The last half hour also, Return of the King's it. Anyone who's seen Lord of the Rings Return of the King knows that one of the biggest complaints that people have is how there's like 5 endings. Like the movie keeps ending, and you keep thinking it's time to stand up to leave the theater.
What?
And then,
okay,
still going.
Okay, he's leaving the Shire. Wait, no? Okay, fuck.
Yeah, this movie kind of does that. There are several points where you think that it could be over, but it keeps going. So that also, I was starting to wonder when it was going to end. And it was, the whole last half hour really was where all the problems were. Otherwise, the movie was pretty strong. It's just that it was good to a point. I would say it's probably the weakest in the series. I know some people will probably say the third one, because I know in the third one, a lot of people say that it's adapting some of the slower parts of the last book. But I personally was more satisfied with the third one than this one.
Yeah, part 1 of Mockingjay I really liked. I thought it was great. I mean, we've heard some stuff that other people say, like, it took the slower parts, but no, I thought everything was great and well-paced.
It was like a war movie told through the propaganda machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was effective in that way.
Yeah, no, I thought it was real good. I mean, I think it's kind of like how you view, it's kind of like a reverse Kill Bill series. You know, remember like Kill Bill Volume 1, most of the action was in Volume 1, and then Volume 2 was mostly about background story and characters. It's kind of reversed like that. Part 1 is all about like the characters and lead up, and Part 2 is all about the action.
I think the movie began very strongly. It began very quiet, very personal and intimate. Katniss is just recovering from the attack by PETA, and you're seeing the consequences of this attack on her, and how she's dealing with the weight of everything that's happened through this series. And I think Jennifer Lawrence just is awesome. I think it's a damn good series overall. And, you know, even though I have issues with the last half hour, I don't think that takes away what this series has done. They've found a way to take that formula of the dystopian future, the kind of Fahrenheit 451, Logan's Run thing, and they found a way to put a unique spin on it, give us a really strong leading female character, give some really real, heavy-hitting drama and action and suspense, and really invest you in the story. And there was a lot of room for fun in the early part of the series, on top of all the horrible stuff that was happening. in general, this series really works, and the cap to the end here, it's still pretty good. It could have been better, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. So, you know, from this nerd, it gets my recommendation. I'm all for it.
All right. Well, I mean, I think, Mike, you really got to hit all the high points. I mean, once again, this franchise, this series of films, have been a delight to watch from beginning to end. I mean, all these actors have done fantastically. You know, I've enjoyed each and every one of them. The stories, they're gripping, they're intense. You really feel for these people. You know, it's definitely a unique way to set up, you know, a civil war. And it's just brutal and horrible. And whether or not it's whether or not it's the first two films or this one, technically the war starts in this one. But it just really shows you just how horrible, you know, war is, and then we're gonna, you know, like sending your young out to, you know, fight for whatever reason. And I mean, I'm probably getting a little too deep in here, just doing this review here, but I really appreciate all like the messages and undertones that this film series brought. And
it's relevant.
Yeah, and I will definitely be watching them again for years. You know, Hunger Games and Catching Fire and Mockingjay 1 and 2.
But make no mistake, I'm gonna have a Hunger Games marathon when this movie comes on Blu-ray.
So. Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody who had involved in that film, from the writers to directors to the cast, to, you know, to the special effects crew. Everybody, thank you for this wonderful series.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for checking out our video here, reviewing the Nerds. Go down to the comments section. Tell us what you're thinking. We'll get back to you when we can. Go like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter @nerds_review. And of course, please subscribe to our channel right here, Reviewing Nerds. And until next time, I'm Vincent.
And I am Mike.
And this has been
Review of the Nerds.